James?
Yep.
Hi, it's Pete from Suburban Rebels.
Right on, Pete. You can call me Jim.
How's it going, Jim?
I was just gluing a piece of china that my wife ordered on the internet that broke back together. It's very exciting. So,
nice.
Yeah, a little super glue and Sharpie action. And that's great work. They're going to ask me to do the Sistine Chapel next, I'm sure, after this. So, no, I'm good.
That's art, though. That's
art. I was telling my wife I'm not usually good at stuff like this. I must be bored. So, no, it's all back together into one piece, man.
Nice. Well, this is another episode of Suburban Rebels broadcast with James Kaa.
Okay, that's how it's pronounced.
Is that right?
Yeah. See, learn something every day. It's common that people think it's Kaa, but it's K.
K, okay. Jim K of the Crowd and the Stitches.
Yep.
The legendary Crowd. So, how did the Crowd form, and how did you get into playing guitar?
Well, my older brother plays guitar, so I'm a little bit older. So I was a teenager in the 70s, so I was listening to bands, David Bowie and Led Zeppelin, and Thin Lizzy and Sweet, all kinds of hard rock and glam rock and Mott the Hoople, all kinds of stuff. And when I was in high school, Jim Decker, who's a year older than me, was in a local band called Witchcraft. He used to play house parties. There's another band called Headrush. They played house parties. They played UFO songs and Kiss songs and stuff like that. So my big dream in life was to play house parties with kegs like my friends did and try to get chicks. So, literally, that's how, I was not trying to change the world when I was 18 or 19. I was just like, if I could play better, I just would play parties. So Tracy Porterfield, our other original guitar player, and I met when we were like 18, 19 and just started hanging out and playing guitar and literally through the two sides of the speaker cabinet. And we had gone to Edison High School, and Jay Decker, Jim's younger brother, who really didn't play bass at the time, started playing bass, and said that he was a year younger than us. And Barry, our original drummer, said that everybody went to Edison. His dad was a percussion player. And so we were all pretty much novices. I had played the most, but we all just kind of started jamming. Jim was in a band called The Resistance at the time. They were like a cover version band, and we were called The New. And so we were just started playing like house parties and stuff, like in 78. And then we had this guy named Peter Roach who sang with us. Everybody just friends from high school, who sang with us for a while. And then when Jim quit The Resistance, we sort of swapped Peter out for Jim and changed the name of The New to The Crowd and started playing more parties. And, that was sort of the beginnings of how we went from, basically a bunch of novices who, like anybody else, got guitars and played when they were young, just play along with records and stuff, try to learn stuff, take a step out, and jam, and then just, went for it. We were pretty lousy when we started, like a lot of bands. It was those days, amps were expensive. Everyone didn't have a tuner. There was no apps on your phone to tune your guitar. You had to tune it by ear. So, it was a different, again, it was just a very different time. No one had merch. We used to spray paint our own church and still be smelling wet spray paint when we played sometimes. So, because, there was no mechanism for, at that time, everybody was hooked up with shirt shops and hat shops and endorsements because it just wasn't happening that way. It was, record labels still back in that time. So, but that really just came from high school friends who wanted to play music who, again, we started playing parties and, that led to us playing shows in L.A. via Posh Boy, actually. And this place called Wood Sound in Monrovia, and started playing Club 88. And from there, we were going to originally do a single. Posh Boy, if you remember, had done that California single with Simple Tones. And then when we started thinking about doing the single, he's the one who came up with the idea to do the Beach Boulevard comp with Simple Tones, Rick and us. So really, that was he came to a party at Jim and Jay's parents' house, that his parents were gone, but that we had and basically came down and offered for us to do a single, which ended up turning out to be the Black Flags on Beach Boulevard. So that was our beginnings of going from playing house parties in Los Angeles. And Robbie was one thing, he was smart enough, we were drawing, we didn't even know that we should be charging money. So we're drawing like 200 kids from the beach to shows, 300 kids from the beach to shows in LA, not thinking any of it because it was just everybody we knew from high school and everybody else's friends. You know, it was more like, you know, everybody and their friends friends showed up. It was a ton of people, and we'd all grown up in the same area and stuff. And it was different than the LA people too, because LA, again, early days was more black leather, you know, influenced by New York and, you know, and London for sure, as we were. But we were wearing stupid Hawaiian shirts and day glow, you know, purple and yellow and anything that would just bum out people, plaids with stripes, and, you know, it was just saying anything you could get at the Goodwill that was cheap. And that was, it was all. It was the great thing about the early days of punk. There was way less, in my mind at least, way less violence. The whole violence factor was just diminished, and the whole tongue-in-cheek mock. It was more you were bumming people out. We were more like getting them to laugh by how stupid we were looking and how dumb we were acting. We weren't really so much hurting anybody or anything other than maybe ourselves.
Right.
But you know, but wearing stupid shirts and stupid pants, and I mean, it's a good time of that whole, you know, the whole thing, like punk names, you know, the John Does, the Pap Smears, you know, all those are still so fantastic, you know what I mean?
Right.
For me at least, they still, if you can't get a chuckle at that stuff, you know, you've lost, kind of bummed. I play music because I love to play. You know, it's so, you know, when you see people having fun at shows, you see the smiling faces, you know, the bobbing heads, you know, just that's the knowing other musicians, that buzz it gives you when you see other bands that are great. You know, it's just that intangible factor is why I play. And so, you know, that existed so much, still exists today. And that's, you know, that's, I certainly never envisioned, you know, 40 years later playing in the crowd. I can tell you that. I certainly was not looking out that far. I can tell you that. But so that's really where it came from.
What was the craziest house party you guys played?
It's hard to say the craziest. I'm not exaggerating. We played it from like June of '78 till into probably early '79. We started to play a lot of clubs. I mean, people would call. I mean, it was tons of people. Again, you went to high school with or grew up with, and people would literally call us on Friday and say, you know, we'll give you guys $20 and a case of beer, and like, okay, we're down, you know, we're there, you know.
Yeah.
And from what they used to call worm piles, you know, people would push each other. You know, the whole worming on glass thing was pretty much bullshit. You know, if people say they saw it, that was really someone broken glass and someone accidentally getting on it. The parties I was at was friends that I knew forever pushing each other down, pouring beer on each other, laughing, having a great time, being stupid and young, basically, you know. Yeah. And I mean, I remember playing in backyards where literally I was like the end, where I was standing at the end of the band was where sort of the side of the house came down, and looking up, and there was, you know, the HBPD standing right there, and the sound of that gung 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 gung, you know, the band stopping. I'm sitting in Costa Mesa playing a house party upstairs, where a cobbler has his belly club in my, you know, chest saying, "You need to get your shit out of here." And I'm like, dude, there's like 100 people between me, the door, and the stairs. You know, what do you want me to do? He goes, follow me. I said, do you create a space? So literally, the asshole creates space. I dragged my amp out. You know, we played parties in Newport where this friend of ours, Gail, had us play. She got I think it was a amplified music without a permit, and like, you know, $80 ticket or something. But in 1980 or something like that. But we played so many feet. It was, I mean, from fights to broken windows, and it usually wasn't about violence. It was just 18, 19, 20-year-old kids drinking and partying and having a good time. The same way we were doing it to Kiss and UFO and fill in the blank David Bowie songs, you know, 6 or 7 years earlier. You know what I mean? It was just the natural evolution of what was going on. So that was kind of, you know, but I think I can't even tell you, from daytime parties to nighttime. We used to even hide the locations of parties because they would get rather than being smart enough to promote the band, we'll have a ton of people come. Like, okay, if too many people come early, they'll get busted. We need to like hide the location. No one will even be there at 9. Everyone show up at like 9:30, and then we play at 10. You know, trying to beat the cops, sort of thing. So, and there was no cell phones either. So I remember many times me because I had to get the PA or something, being like one of the last guys to leave, like there'd be the people who had the party, the cops, and I'd be loading my shit in the car. And, you know, like, I had no idea where everyone was. You know, it wasn't like you could just hop on your phone and say, hey, where are you guys at? You know, you had to start, I'll drive by Jim's house. Oh, no one's there. I'll drive by, you know, so it was a very different, hence that song Right Time really came from, you know, you missed everybody by 10 minutes sometimes, then you missed the whole night because you could never catch up with anybody. You know, you know, you missed that call by 10 minutes or get them 10 minutes late. You know, again, where did they go? You could, unless somebody gave you explicit, you know, idea where everyone was going, or it was a show everyone was going to. It was just a house party night. Who knows what could happen?
Oh, okay. Did you guys ever go by a fake name?
Me personally, no. You know, Jimmy Trash, Jay Trash, Tracy Porterfield, Tracy Modern, Barry Miranda, Barry Cuda, James DK never stuck. You know, it's funny because Jim Decker, our singer, and James K, Jim, both of us, in our band, Jim's referred to as Jimmy typically, and I'm referred to as K. Those are our, if our other guys in the current crowd, you know, usually they'd say, well, K said we had to be there at 7, or Jimmy's going to be there at 9. You know, that's how we're referenced usually. But I've never, because my name, the Kaa, is the actual spelling of my name. It's a Danish name, but some people think it's Hawaiian. You know, some people think I shortened it. Some people, you know, so it's quite humorous actually. It's so simple, but it's hard. So, but no, for me, one has never stuck.
Well, you guys are the first surf punk band in SoCal?
Well, they, you know, everybody argues who started when. We all grew up at the beach, so all the guys in our band surf, body surf. We literally, I still live about a mile from the beach. My parents' house is really close to where I live. So so if you listen to our music, it's funny. There's not really much surf influence in our actual music. I mean, when I was a kid, I watched all the, you know, Frankie Avalon type beach party movies when I was growing up, and I certainly went to the beach my whole life, body surfed, you know, spent most of my summer days at the beach in Huntington Beach. But our music isn't like surf guitars or anything like that. I guess there's a vibe of that maybe in it, or I always thought our music was more influenced by surfing and skating, because the aggression that comes from surfing and skating is like the aggression in punk rock music. So for me, that was the easy connection, because I like to body surf, and I like to body surf shore break. And like, I don't want to go to the wedge when it's 20 feet. But when the shore break is pounded in Huntington, it's 4 or 5 feet, and they're 10-foot faces, and you get giant barrels. It is like, you know, it's adrenaline blast, and it's high speed adrenaline buzz, and it's the same, you know, that's, you know, punk rock hitting the stage, place going off. It's that same high speed adrenaline buzz. I guess I'm not a heavy ramp skater, but when I was young, I skated everywhere. You know, we were more a means of transportation and a good time just skating on little ramps and hills and sidewalks. And when ramps really started to happen, I thought, oh, this is really cool, but I'm going to break my wrist. As a guitar player, like, you know, there was everybody didn't have helmets and pads and everything. You just got on the ramp and went, basically. So, but all that stuff, that's where I always thought the connection was more to that than surf punk. But we definitely, because of Jim and Tracy and Jay having blonde hair and all of us being tan, again, we were sort of the antithesis of like the middle class who are from Orange County and from, you know, Fullerton area, only, you know, a half hour from us. They, you know, more looked like the people from LA in the sense of wearing, you know, dark clothes and leather, and when we brought this whole different crazy tan guys with bleached hair and Hawaiian shirt and Dayglow Hawaiian shirts diving off the stage. You know, it was like who some people will of course say the Beach Kids ruined the scene. I've heard that a million years. And it was just more people. It was just, we went from, you know, I was already out of high school when the crowd, I was just hit 1 year out when the crowd really started to happen. And, you know, it was typically it went from the 100 punks to the 1,000 punks to the 10,000 punks in Orange County. It seemed like it was like, you know, 30 days, 90 days, you know, 6 months. It, you know, it was the, whatever, from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 sort of thing. So
okay.
We didn't, again, we weren't smart enough to make sure to capitalize. I mean, we were probably more focused on, you know, who am I trying to date and is there a party this weekend? I mean, that was I didn't have the foresight to think about music as a career because I never, I was more just like, wow, we're getting to play clubs. I only want to play parties. This is, the whiskey's giving us food, money, drinks, and a guest list to play. How can it be any better than this?
Right.
I'm 20 years old thinking, geez, this has far surpassed my dream. I'm playing with X, I'm playing with Fear, I'm playing with the Go-Go's, I'm playing with Plugs, seeing millions of good bands, seeing bands, The Cure and the Simple Minds and bands like that at the Whiskey a Go-Go magazine. It was a lot of influence, different sounds, different looks, different people. So, I'm really happy and lucky I was around. And, most of those clubs like the Starwood and the Whiskey would put you on the house list. So at the Starwood, you could go up and see all the other bands that played, which was, again, just a great thing to be able to see, whether it's the Mutants from San Francisco or, fill in the blank band, just different bands. And that was
right.
Like, wow, wow, I never thought of that. Or wow, they have a cool look. And, again, I thought the Plugs and the Alley Cats when I was young were such great bands, and yet they didn't get signed. You know what I mean? It was sort of like blew my mind. Like, wow, they're so good. How are they not getting a deal? Sort of thing. And not that the Go-Go's weren't good, but they were girls. It was kind of like, God, they're not that good. Why did they get a deal? So, I really like Jane. They're really cool people. You know what I mean? But they were no better than the other bands in my mind. I mean, generally speaking, they were just as good as everybody else, but they were girls too. So, anyway. But I'm not bummed. I mean, I know people always, many of the interviews done, they're like, are you guys bummed you didn't make it? And it's like, well, of course, who wouldn't have wanted, and again, of course, let's make it. I just want somebody to change my strings. That's what I tell people. So I don't have to do it anymore. But reality, of course, who doesn't want to hit or anything? But again, that I've got to play. I actually, we opened for the Ramones twice. We opened for Gang of Four. We opened for XTC. Fill in the blank. That I got to play with so many great bands, even over the last 10, 15 years to play with Stiff Little Fingers and X and Bad Religion and Social Distortion and, know tons of those people for 30, 40 years. And guys, that Tony, Steve, and Jack and Mike and Ron and all those guys are all really close friends of mine for a long, long time. And, that you have that peer recognition and, respect of those people. How could I be bummed? This year alone, I sat in with the Weirdos. The Stitches did Punk Rock Bowling, and we were playing with the Weirdos. So I played Solitary Confinement with the Weirdos. Then recently, Brian Coakley, a guy from Cadillac Tramps, he has a new band called Lighthouse down here, and I sat in and played a song with them, like a month or two ago, and I, playing in the crowd, playing with Stitches. So it's like, again, how can it be any better for me personally? I'm getting to do shit I wanted to do for 20, 30 years, basically.
Right.
It's like, but it's work too. People never realize that dragging your ass out again 9 o'clock and playing at 11:30 when you're 60 years old is not always like, there's many nights I'm thinking, why did I say I was going to play down a crash? But once you get, for me though, always once I get out amongst the people and, the energy, feel the room, have a beer, get in the groove, start to feel the, and then it's always easy to do. But yeah, it's still, I think people never appreciate how much it is to try to get people's schedule. I mean, when we sit on the, after practice, sometimes everyone's got their phone out trying to, okay, when can we practice? When will this work? And, you go out of town, people got work trips. That's really the hard part about playing when you're older. It's just that logistics part can be really seriously challenging is what it comes down to. So, but you work to overcome it.
Yeah, for sure. And, were a lot of those people that became kind of bigger, like Mike Ness and like Dwayne Peters, were they all at early crowd gigs in Orange County?
Yeah, I never saw Dwayne that much till later because he's a little bit younger. But I mean, I used to meet. That's where you met people along the way. I remember seeing X before we played with X, and then starting to get to know John Doe. And when we played a few shows with the Adolescents, I didn't know him that well. It was when the Rodney on the Rock Volume 1 album came out, because the Adolescents Amoeba was on there, which was the big hit. But Right Time, I think, was that first song on the second side, which was, did really, really well for us. And that was, again, I guess maybe a minor hit, you would say. I'd say that but it was. I remember Steve Soto one of the very first times we talked when we were much younger, 40 years ago, saying to me, oh, we have the hits on the record, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you guys have a hit. I'm not sure we have a hit, and that was one of the first times I talked to Steve. So, and I remember thinking that Pat from the Germs, because there was a girl named Rosetta he dated for a while, and I used to like when I was young, and I thought he was like a badass who would kick my ass. And then when I met him later, realizing he was this like gentle, really like cool, nice, funny guy, you know what I mean? But he was in the Germs, and I was from Huntington Beach, and it was like the Germs from L.A. They're probably really badass people, but in actuality, they were like quiet, arty, some of them drug damaged, it was. I was very naive, so I didn't, when you'd see, I didn't realize there was people. I'm not bagging on people, but there's people who are junkies, and I just, we smoked pot and people did coke and stuff, and I mean it was the 70s going to the 80s in the suburbs, but I'd never been around more, hard drug use, just different people in that seedy side of life a little bit, and I didn't realize at the time the Starwood, when you were playing there and getting paid, a lot of that was probably drug money from that Eddie Nash and those Wonderland murders, because there was all kinds of weird ass people at the Starwood. I used to see Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee all the time wear those giant platform shoes at backstage and hanging around the Starwood when we were playing Starwood shows. They were always around. So. But no, I mean, again, those were, you did see, that's one of the things the first time we played the Whiskey, we opened for the Cramps of all people. And we had, you used to do 2 shows a night there. You did a 9 o'clock set and 11 o'clock set. And I was really, really nervous because it was the biggest show we probably ever played. And, and then, people like John Doe and Tomato Duplanty and all people like that are showing up between sets up for the second set. And there come people backstage, and everyone's really happy and in a good mood. And I'm just getting more and more nervous because now, to me, like the people I've been watching play on stage, the creme de la creme of the Weirdos and X and the Screamers and, whoever, the people from the scene are all at the show you're playing, It was like, fucking hey, I think it was a scary, again, I was 19, 20, it was a good, frightening endeavor. And then, having probably by 2 years from then played the Whiskey, 10 or a dozen times, it became that you couldn't wait to get down the stairs to start the set sort of thing. Because it was just that fabulous that there's that little bit of rock starness where they come to your dressing room and say, you guys are you work here, let's go. And you go down the stairs and you stand at the top of the stairs and they drop the house lights and, the hush goes over the crowd or a cheer goes up and down you go with the flashlight. And having watched, like I said, I'd seen, again, Magazine or The Cure or the Dickies or, all those bands there. Now I was the one coming down those stairs. That was, again, it was that really bitching experience.
Right.
Again, it's that buzz you can't get, whether it's the surfing buzz, the sex buzz, those things that give you a buzz that only those things can give you. It was that kind of like, okay, I want that heroin again. How do I get it? It was like you make that deal with, okay, God, just let me play the Whiskey once. I'll never ask for anything else. It's like, okay, maybe one more time, maybe, please. How about that? But no, you just, again, it was so exciting. And you didn't even realize, because people were like, why didn't you take pictures of everything? I'm like, same thing. I was just trying to get like I said, chase some girls or grab some free beers or who knows. I wasn't thinking like I'm documenting the scene. I'm going to do books or make money off of it. I was just being a young guy having fun. So and it was great. I mean, you got to see again Jam and fill in the blank. Anybody you wanted to see were coming through. So you got to see a lot of good things for sure.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, besides the Adolescents, who else was your competition like back then?
Well, I mean, it was funny because when we very first started playing, there was a band in Huntington Beach called the Outsiders. Frank Ruffino of China White was one of the guys in it. Corey Streft, actually, who plays bass in our band now, was in it. You allegedly, when they were supposed to be like our arch enemies, and I didn't even know who a couple of the guys in the band were. And so when we very first started, there was not much competition here in Huntington Beach per se, because all those bands started a little bit after us. The Mechanics were in Fullerton early, but it was really the Middle Class was the band that I remember playing from Orange County in LA when we started. But it was more the same thing. I think one big difference I told a lot of people, you would, in the early days, you would see, because we used to play with the Blasters, and there was a fair amount of, not early in the scene, but by 1980, 81, there was lots of roots bands starting to play. And you'd have a show where it could be, again, more like a straight up, punk band, a band that was kind of more roots or rockabilly, and a band that could be, like, with all due respect, like an Art Ag band. But they'd all be on the same bill, you know what I mean? And it was cool to be different, you know what I mean? You didn't have to everybody be hardcore or everybody be roots. But it seemed like by the, 83, 84, it became like, well, this is a hardcore show, or this is a rockabilly show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was always a little bit of the, if you're going to book bands, you want to book bands that are going to, appeal to each other or work together, like, the Madame Wongs versus Hong Kong Cafe, Madame Wongs being more new wave, if you will, Hong Kong being more punk. But still, it was kind of cool at, like, the Mask and stuff. You'd see a real variety of different styles on any given night, which was cool. Again, I like seeing different stuff. I love straight ahead punk rock, but it's cool when you see other things too. I mean,
right.
Whatever variation of that. Some people want to see the Johnny Thunder, some want to see the short fast Ramones, and some want to see the Gun Club or bluesy. I don't know what to call it. Psychobilly, whatever the case may be. I mean, that's what I always tell people. If it gives you a buzz, makes you happy, that's what it's about, And there's bands people see, I love this band. I'll listen to them. I go, I like it's okay, but it doesn't give me that special buzz. But if it does for you, then that's what it's about, man. The people have connected to crowd songs as much as they have that I've written over the years. It's the same thing. That's one of the most gratifying things, that you could have for me as a musician. That people, stop me at Punk Rock Bowling and say, "Hey, I really like your guitar style." That little bit for me is like, because feeling like you want to have your own style. I really like this album or this album. That's the stuff that really, it really makes it worth it. It's not,
right.
I'm not a super big rock star or anything, but when human people that contact can tell you, hey, they really enjoy or impacted positively by your music, it's like, okay, that's why I want to keep writing songs and keep playing and keep getting to do, all the things I do. It's been fun playing in the Stitches the last few years because it's a whole different vibe for me because the crowd is, more or less my band. And I say that with, it's not mine, so all the guys together. Certainly Jim and I have been, partners a long, long time. But in the Stitches, I'm just an extra guitar player. So, and while I've been in the band for now, I guess 5 or 6 years, I played all but one show. I have a whole different, I don't, the pressure is way less because I'm never having to worry about the guest list and the money and all the things I have to worry about in the crowd. And again, because I don't sing at all, really, I sing a few parts I don't have to sing. I just play guitars and try to sneak in solos that Johnny hasn't approved and have a great time, and it's really been a super fun, it's not something I planned to do. It just sort of all happened, again, the old word organically. The Stitches were playing, I can't even remember what show, and I had said to Johnny, hey, will you put me on the list? He's like, sure. He goes, why don't you play a few songs with me? This is like, we got 6 years ago. And I'm like, well, tell me what songs. He goes, so he tells me, we'll finish with these 3. So I learned 3 songs. So they're playing with, I can't remember who, whether it was the Adolescents or Love Canal or Channel 3 or somebody. So I had somebody else just leave their amp on stage. So when they got to the end of their set, they had my guitar with me, just hopped up, did the last 3 songs with them. It was super fun, all fun. So, I don't know, another year had gone by, and they're playing another show I was going to go to. Johnny's like, we should play the whole set with us. And I'm like, wow, I don't know. And I'm like, so it gives me like 15 songs to learn. So for about a month, I sat in my bed at night and learned Stitches songs, which if you learn Stitches songs, many are in E, is what it comes down to. If you go to E, you're going to get eventually going to probably come around to you. But, and then I played a show with them, and like I said, other than one show in Phoenix, I played every show since. So it's been in last year. This year in March we did Seattle, Albany, San Francisco, then 2 local shows down here, and then went to Texas and did 5 shows in 4 days, and a couple in South by Southwest, and with a brief solo shows, and that was really for me, again, it was a super fun time. Actually, my wife went with me to Seattle, so that was super fun. And again, to get to do Albany was off the charts. I can't remember that club across there, but it was that was a rowdy show. And,
nice.
And then the bottom of the hill show in the afternoon was, other than a little bit of equipment problems, was really fun too. So
I was at that one.
Yeah,
I missed the Albany one, but.
Yeah, no, and that was, I said there was some big ass dudes flying around the pit that night. So the same thing, it seemed like more like controlled chaos, like people who knew each other, who may have been rowdy and stuff. It wasn't, again, I'm just anti-fighting and violence. If it was bros who want to hurl each other around, well, they usually, they're usually good about that. And they all sort of know each other's limits, or they hurt themselves and realize they're too old to do it the next day. But that's they're doing it at their own choice and danger, if you will. So, but no, so that that's been a kind of a cool bonus too of late.
Well, talking about the Stitches, how do you like being in the band with good old Mikey Lorman?
Oh yeah, he knocks a lot of stuff down. I've known Mike a super long time. He's a big crowd fan, and he used to Jim Decker, our singer, would put him on the list a lot when we were young because he used to call him Mike Stretch, and so I've known Mike forever. And it was funny because we used to do a lot of shows when we were younger, Stitches and Crowd, and so it's been really, I really have a great time playing in the Stitches. Pete Archer, he shares the side of the stage with the bass player. Again, they've been Mike's great. They're just all funny guys, and it's been, like I said, just a super experience for me.
Mm-hmm. And where was the photo cover of A World Apart taken?
It's right, actually, I live right by there. That is right standing on PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, or the one under the pier, Huntington Beach Pier. Again, we all grew up here, and I lived on, we all went to Edison High School here in Huntington Beach. And then the other one on the back of the album, we're standing right in front of the power plant on Pacific Coast Highway. And actually, it's funny because I live right by there, and they're just, that power plant that the picture taken of, they're going to tear down. They are building a new one right next to it. So in a few years, they're going to dismantle the old one. But yeah, and honestly, that's the reason we did that was anybody from Huntington would know those places exactly. I mean, it could have been any pier, I guess, but the power plant for sure. If you were from Huntington, more than likely you knew those pictures were from Huntington. So, and again, I think that was a lot to do with Posh Boy too, because he was marketing us. The pictures. If you look at Jim in those pictures, I think he's wearing a red sweater, he has blonde hair. He certainly is not the dark, pasty-skinned, angry, tattooed, pierced punk. He's more like the Beach Boy version of the punk. So it's, I'm sure a little of that was Robbie's marketing. Because that record, while I really like World Apart, I wish it sounded different. That was not the mix that came out. It's way too, not big enough guitars, not thick enough. But, Robbie was trying to do something different. But, I'm happy, all these years later, of course, find what it is. And it served its purpose at the time. But I just remember being, at the time, like, we want to sound more like this, and him like, no, I want to sound more like this. So that's, welcome to 1981. It was a very different time. So it's very hard. Records were harder to make and more expensive, that's for sure, than the modern.
And where did you guys practice back then, the Crowd?
Well, it's funny. We practiced two different places primarily in the early days. Actually, in Jay Decker, our bass player's bedroom, in the upstairs of his parents' house. And then actually in the upstairs of Barry Miranda, our drummer's house. Those were the two places we primarily practiced. And then over time, there started to be rehearsal studios, and we also started playing gigs that we got paid money, so we had money to pay for that. And there's a place called Harris Sound Studio in Costa Mesa, which is basically just like a little industrial building that a guy built a bunch of small rooms in with carpet and stuff, and they're soundproof, had PAs in it. And so we had one that we just got, I think we used to pay monthly, like $150 was our monthly lockout or something like that. And you could just leave your amps and drums there and just go in and practice. But early days was definitely in the bedrooms. I mean, Tracy and I said before, when we were in the New, which became the Crowd, we would sit in his bedroom and play through the two sides of the stereo because I had was saving money for an amp and he still didn't have an amp. So, those were, you sort of, again, used what you had, I guess is what it came down. It was sort of like making your own shirts. There was no, there really wasn't, other than Zed existed then, but Zed was more like an import shop for, if you needed like a Genesis or Yes import or something, you could, David Bowie picture disc, you could get it as Zed, because punk really hasn't, Zed records and Long Beach punk still really hadn't happened that much. So it wasn't like you could get, I mean, if you wanted a Rolling Stones t-shirt, I remember having to like send away, like have my mom write a or something, and like fill out a coupon to get like a Rolling Stone T-shirt sent to me or something like that. You could just hop on the internet and order it. But so we made, I remember again, taking white T-shirts and spray painting them or stuff like that, because that was just, it was that we didn't think about it as DIY. It would do, it's just what you did. It was sort of the way you went about it. But,
cool. And where was like places to hang out in Huntington Beach when you weren't playing gigs? Is there any cool punk hangouts?
There weren't as much then, because honestly, we used to hang out at the beach. I mean, we were, again, Jim, Tracy were really good surfers. Barry was a good surfer too. Jay surfed. I was a shitty surfer, but a good body surfer. So there wasn't so much punk places. Punk really had not even taken shape yet. So you were more just hanging at, again, that's why house parties were so prevalent then. And when we first played the Cuckoo's Nest, some friends of ours had this band in Arcadia, and it was like a rock band in those days. Like, I would just call them like a 70s rock band. They could have been trying to be more like, or Thin Lizzy or, whatever, just a standard issue rock band. And they needed somebody to open a show that somebody else, canceled or whatever. And they put us on the bill at the Cuckoo's Nest, and there was probably 12 or 14 of our friends there, a couple of guys who really liked punk, and we played our crazy, crowd buzzsaw music to, I think everyone just kind of like, who the hell is this, or what is this? And then they, by whatever, 3 months later, 4 months later, they were doing new wave nights on Tuesday and Wednesday. Said they give out like little flyer coupons to get them for $2 or whatever, and we played to like whatever, say 300 people or something, because it was just going off. It was, again, part of why it might sound arrogant, but Jim and Jay, they have another brother named Jeff. They're all tall, good-looking, blonde-haired guys. We all went to the same school. It wasn't like we were all misfits, you know what I mean? So many people portray punk as like these beat-up, misfit people, and I had I grew up with tons of friends. I've lived in the same city forever. I was an Army brat, but I moved to California by second grade, and when I went to high school, I had friends I'd known since elementary school and junior high, and I think I met Jim when I was a freshman and he was a sophomore. But we didn't become friends, more close friends for a couple of years. But it was just everybody we hung, literally, we would ride our bikes down to Newport Beach to go body surfing. A lot of people would hang out at Brookhurst Beach. That was the main beach. People used to spray paint. If you look at early flip sides, there's pictures of like the snack bar at Brookhurst Beach spray painted with the crowd, and it'll say the
nice.
And stuff like that. So really, Brookhurst Beach was the place we hung out primarily, because again, there wasn't so much punk places or punk venues.
Right. What about Okie Dogs? You ever gone to LA?
Oh yeah, we used to go, because like I said, the Starwood. The great thing about the Starwood, because they put you on a house list, and they did shows every Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, we'd go up all, like I had Fred Dwayne and Jim Decker, our singer. We would get a 12-pack, put enough money, guys, Ford Courier truck, so we could. We'd go up there, we'd get in free, we'd drink our beer on the way up, you'd see whoever was playing. And so you were out all the time. And then, you went, we used to go to Okie Dog, we would go to Tommy's, we would go to Tom's Number 2. All those places were totally happening. That was kind of the great thing. There were shows, like Club 88 was happening over in Santa Monica. The Whiskey was really happening. Not as many shows at the Roxy then, but more like bigger shows. I remember seeing Bauhaus there, and like Robert Gordon with Chris Spedding there. So there was stuff going on all over town. So down here in Orange County, there's a little bit in Long Beach, but even in the early days, not as much. And the Cuckoo's Nest in Costa Mesa, which I think is like literally 10 minutes up the hill from where I live, it was the main place because it just happened to be a guy who owned it was smart enough to realize, oh, this is what's happening now. I'm going to book these shows, and it became notorious. And every band that toured, it was great for me because I saw, Ultravox there. I saw Magazine there. I saw, I fill in the blank. The same thing. A whole bunch of more really fantastic bands there, super close up.
Yeah.
I guess for that aspect as well, for me to be able to talk to John McGaw, the guitar player for Magazine, at the bar and watch him play, again, that's the benefit of it maybe being my age or being around at that time. You saw, some really fantastic bands really, really close up, and I'd even seeing bands like The Cult at the Anti-Club and probably, same thing, 85, 86 before they even had really exploded. There was just so many cool things to see like that if you were out and about. And I mean, they're still cool. I mean, if you're out and about now, there's still good shows to see. I'm just not out and about as quite much as I was. 20 years old, unfortunately.
I saw Agent Orange last night.
Where were they at last night?
Slims with the Avengers.
Yes. Oh, no. Oh, nice. Yeah, the Avengers, that big tour with Stiff Little Fingers.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
They just came back. Nice. I've never played. I've done Bottom of the Hill and I've done Parkside a few times. I've never done Slims. So maybe someday.
There's always next month, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we did Mabuhay back in the day and Berkeley Square, so I've done most of the good ones at one time or another in Gilman. So.
Oh, okay. How was the Mabuhay?
It was we played. It was interesting. We played a Thursday and a Friday, and I don't remember why we played a Thursday and a Friday. The first night was about a local band who were like kind of new wavy, and we were really, really bad, and we were arguing amongst ourselves. It was fun, but we had a bad night. So the next day, I think it was Friday and Saturday, we had to go to Mabuhay in the afternoon to practice. Literally, Dirk called Posh Boy and said, you need to make those guys go practice. That's how bad it was. So the next night that we played with Jim Carroll. And that night was we played a lot better, but it was just as bad for us. The audience hated us. Basically, we're arguing with the audience during our set. Got in fights with the bouncers in the alleyway. So our Mabuhay, while it was young and exciting, was not that great of an experience for us. But then we played Berkeley Square with Crime, and that was actually a fun night and a fun time. The guys at Crime, I don't know them, and I'm not anti them, but they were really, really, at that night at least, really super arrogant and egotistical, and their crew. And so that's the only experience I ever had with them. So I certainly can't say they're bad folks, but my only experience was they didn't want to talk. I mean, we're just like, we were young and dumb and crazy, but I don't know. They just were a little rock starry that night. But who knows? I had a fun time. That's all I know. It was weird. It was like playing like in a 50s barber shop. I don't know. It was a different place. But it was fun.
Interesting.
Well, the one cool thing about Mabuhay, we went to a record shop in Berkeley. I'm sure it's probably a famous one that Posh Boy would remember. But I got California Over Allison, Alternative Tentacles. I got the Mutants, New Dark Ages, that double single, like 4 songs on it, and this band called Pink Section, like talking about China or something, or I don't know. I bought all those singles, which I still have to this day.
Nice.
On that first trip to Mabuhay. Which is, I mean, having that original California Royals is really, I guess it's worth a lot of money. I don't collect, just sell them for money. I just buy records I like and keep them. So,
yeah, awesome.
But to still have to, been able to, do some of that stuff, it was really cool. So, but no, those were my experiences. But I mean, I certainly want to come up again. So,
right.
For sure.
What about the song "I'm Not Happy Here"? What inspired that one?
Well, it's interesting because Jeff Mackey, our actor, produced initially when he joined the crowd and has been playing guitar for us. He wrote the music to that, and then it's mostly the lyrics are all about a guy named Steve Houston, who was a guitar player in the Clan, who was Jim Decker's roommate when they were young. They were roommates for a long, long time, and most of the lyrics had a 240Z, drive down to the beach. He had a 240Z, and so. Steve was really his parents were well off, but he just seemed to always have a bum out. And later in life, he had hard drug problems, and so his punk name was Stevie Dead, and the chorus was saying Stevie's dead. It's not that he's dead, but it's just it really just came from that because again, you sort of like your parents are really well off. You live in Southern California. You're not going to fall through the pit to poverty or despair like everyone else because, your parents are going to bail you out. How bad can it really be? But, I can't speak to personal people's depression or drug, I guess, everyone can only do what they can do. But, so really that's where it came from. And, it's funny because I write a lot of our songs, but when Jeff writes songs, it's really fun for me because he goes, just play the solo here, play a solo here, and it allows me to have freedom, like when I haven't come up with the song, to do different things with it. And just the vibe of that just really fit the time of the crowd, and it really feels like a crowd song. And I think when Jeff wrote it, the same thing. Well, he's written songs for his other bands, Curve and stuff. It just worked for us. So that's what, I think the lyrics certainly come about Houston, and the music was just Jeff writing a crowd song, a good one.
Mm-hmm. Right on. What about Surf Ghetto? Is that about Huntington Beach?
Yeah, and that same thing. That's me, because that's, if you really, again, downtown Huntington Beach, which is really down near the pier. Again, when I was a kid, it was these red brick buildings, sort of that, because literally that was in 50 something. That was literally like Main Street, Huntington Beach, where the hardware store was and the post office was, and that kind of stuff. And so it has that sort of 50s memories feel to it. And over time, it was interesting because there was two different mayors of Huntington Beach. A woman named Pam Houchin, who was illegally converting apartments to condos. She was arrested, felony for that. This guy named Dave Carafalo, who was also on the city council, was basically voting for zoning to benefit the lands he owned. And both of them were thrown off the city council and busted for felony, breaking the law. And I watched what used to be, when I was a kid, there was these older apartments, and you'd see people from all over. I mean, it was definitely people from inland, people from other states, people from South America, guys from Japan, whatever. 3 or 4 bros would come to Huntington Beach in 1974, and they'd rent an apartment for 3 months in the summer. They'd surf and hang out or work a Jack-in-the-Box or whatever. And that sort of surf ghetto, and it wasn't, I use that tongue-in-cheek because it wasn't a ghetto like you would think of a conventional ghetto in, in L.A. or New York and the south side of Chicago, but it was the older, cheaper apartments with a bunch of young dudes sharing one, just like, hey, all I need is rent and beer money and surf time, And so, and watching that being torn down and these multi-million-dollar houses being just, replaced in that faceless, just rows of these rich houses, tall, thin houses. Again, I just watched it. I've literally lived in Huntington Beach, over 50 years, and watched it go from this, sleepy surf town to this big, now super expensive, thank God my wife only bought a house a long time ago, super expensive place to live. And, on one side, when my wife and I went down to the beach last night for sunset, and that I can still just, I'm 5 minutes from the beach and can still see people from elementary school or my cousins and people that, I went to high school with, or, all those, for me being part of being part of the music scene, being part of the local Huntington Beach community. My kids went to school here, my friends' kids went to school here, so you have that deep roots here in Huntington Beach. So I really love, that aspect about it, and have, and being in the crowd for so long, say in the city, being able to be part of the music scene for so long and being part of the community that gets all tied together over time, Some people know me, from my being an accountant in finance work, and some people know me from my kids and, their sports or whatever, and, some people know me from the crowd, and some people know me from many of them, but sometimes it's a severe disconnect for some people when, because my daughter went to a wedding a year ago, and she was there with a date who didn't know, she just, it was their first date, and she's introducing him to some people, and they're going, "Oh, her dad is like this killer guitar player." And he finally turns to me and goes, "Your dad that I met today?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, he's kind of a pretty good, well-known, local guitar player." And she goes, "He just looked at me so funny, like he goes, not that like he couldn't be you, but you know what I mean. I was just a dude in board shorts and a t-shirt doing yard work. You know what I mean? There's no reason for him to think other than there's 3 amps sitting right next to each other in front of my garage. A 412, a 212, and most people don't have 3 or 4 amps in the front of their garage, just in case you need one. But no, it's just that kind of funny part of life. It's just that disconnect. Again, that's not, but I would love to make a living by music, but again, accounting has definitely provided, my kids and my wife much better than my music royalties with it, for sure. So, but hey, I play music because I love it, and it's a great thing.
Right on. What about when the Huntington Beach gangs came in? What year was that, and how did it ruin the scene?
See, the same thing. It's sort of a misconception that there really, it went from 79 to about 82 was sort of this infancy period where it was mostly people and there was always groups of friends, and it was never, to me, people use those words gangs. It was never like gangs, like you would affiliate a Bloods and Crips or real gangs. It was just groups of people, and there was just, some people thought the scene was about violence and about beating up people, and that's when that sort of 83, 84 time, that's why we quit playing for a few years, the crowd, because it was just a bum out. It was just about people fighting at shows, and these 10 guys beating up these 4 guys, and so I guess to me it wasn't, especially in Huntington Beach, because I still live here, I lived there the whole time. I'll gladly have that discussion with anybody who says there was gangs, because it just was more groups of friends and idiots who became rowdy, and because they had 10 big friends, no one was going to challenge them at the show if they beat somebody up, because till a bigger guy came around and said F you, and and that's kind of took its natural course. It went from, I think, when we were young, it was sort of self-imposed. There were enough friends involved that if someone started to get out of control, usually it was either people you knew, or they would have their own little skirmish because we all knew each other forever, or somebody else would kind of, hey, dude, you crossed the line, so either, cool it off, or, you're going to get beat down, sort of thing. And there was more, I said it was more, it was organic. It wasn't like a big, like, oh, we're going to kill you. It's just like, look, dude, that's not cool. So either, sort of play by the rules. And most people, because so many people were friends and knew each other, I certainly probably select friends of mine too hard, and they probably select me too hard, or shoved each other down, or did something stupid at many different times. But it wasn't like you were out to try to hurt each other. We were just, again, being young and dumb and having a great time. And sometimes that involved falling down or goofing off or doing stupid stuff. But again, I think people, when you're young, you do stupid stuff. Doesn't matter if it's punk rock or any, young people will do stupid stuff sometimes, especially if you're drinking and partying. We sometimes do those things. But no, to me, I said it was, honestly, Pete, it was just a change from, like, people were there to watch the fights, not watch the bands. And that was really, for me, it was just a bum out on, on everything. Because again, I was always more about, hey, look, I'm here to play music, and being able to be involved in this music scene that's changing things or impacting things has been like a really cool thing. But yeah, I'm not about, 5 guys beating up another guy. And that's just, I don't want to get the whole white supremacist Nazi thing. It's always existed. It's a bum out, that's just not where I'm not, it's not my deal. And, if people want to do that, don't bring it to my show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anybody can believe whatever they want, but it shows it should be, all together sort of thing. So that's really, really what it's about. I mean, it's just the whole violence just seems to, again, it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, it's happened late, not so much later, but every once in a while, with the shows, the smart pillars and stuff where, again, you just get, 2 or 3 people could just really fuck shit up. And then,
right.
Because you're really ruining a good time for 1,000 people sometimes. So.
Right.
But
so there's a lot of like Nazi surf punks, right? Like punch up between surfers.
I don't know. Surf people just there certainly has always been that sort of element in Southern California. But again, not so much, as much as they certainly always exist here in Huntington Beach for sure. But I don't know how much, not so much always surf. They say that, but I don't think it's as many surf dudes. I think it's more just SoCal people, but not so much surf. But now again, it's always existed. It's always been there. To me, it's never been, again, but it was never a problem because it wasn't. Again, I guess if you want to come to the show and hang out and have a good time, cool. If you want to come to the show and try to beat up people with 10-on-1, it's not cool. And then, in LA, because there's always been a large Hispanic contingent from when we were young in a good way, and it's always been like Long Beach, at Alex's Bar where we played a million times, you never have problems because it's everybody in Long Beach. It's black, white, Hispanic, Asian, young, old, tattoo, fat, tall, smart, dumb, rich, poor. It's everybody, and everyone has a great time. And I think no one tolerates it, sort of thing. There's like the zero tolerance for bullshit like that. So I think that's when you have a place like Alex's that has that, hey, it's everybody here. So if you come here, you have to get along with everybody and keep your mouth shut, basically. Because there was a good one night, I go to like, dude, either just stand in the back and shut the fuck up, or you're just going to get beat down and thrown in the street. So I'm basically giving you one chance here to, to just, kind of go to the corner and enjoy the show. Otherwise, it's going to be bad news. But that's why everyone loves Alex, just because and in Club Hunters, you either let it exist or you don't. So, but that's why I'd rather not focus on that, because again, to me, it's always been about having the connection with cool bands and bands from other areas and meeting people and getting to meet people and know people so long and have those connections via music, whether it's the people in X or the guys at TSOL or the guys in Adolescence and all those people and a million more that you've connected with, and you have to see them play really cool special shows. And that again, I said that sort of goosebumps tingle feeling of like, wow, that was like an amazing live show to see, that you can't see it again sort of thing. It's only going to happen that one time. Feeling,
right.
Again, that's why I said my wife and I really love to go see music still, because it's still, we just saw Bauhaus a couple weeks ago, and they were really good. And because the mix was good, and it was a fun time. And I I wish I could go out. Like I said, there's so many more shows, and I'd like to go to between real life and playing in 3 different bands. I don't have much time to go to shows, so other than when I play with myself. But,
right on. And I heard slam dancing was actually created from Jim Decker's dance.
That's a very common. You could say yes. Jim, we used to call it that circle jerk style of that guy, image of the guy swinging his arms. When Jim danced wildly when we were young, we used to call it the downhill racer, like he was skiing downhill and his 2 arms were flying back and forth. And so part of his style, I think, influenced that slam dancing of the arm swinging, etc. But it was never, again, when I first went to shows in LA, it was sort of pogoing, and slamming didn't really exist. It's just certainly not the circle pit part. It was more, there'd be people smashing around, but more like in a crowd, how crowd surges kind of push forward or push to the side. And, there's a lot of people in general admission like that, like wave surge. It would seem like that sometimes. But then, I think his dance style certainly helped that, because by the time we played with DOA at the Star Wars, that Hardcore 81 show, and the last time I went to the pit and just got beat up, like people beating me up. It got so, it's like I played a tackle football game. I was so thrashed the next day from that. Some people slamming into me. I was like, okay, I'm done with the pit. I'm going to break my wrist. I'm going to get slammed in the head. It was like I was beat to crap from having it. But I had a great time, of course. So, but that was that era where, again, the pit was brutal, rough, but more like you were roughhousing with your friends. Or, like I said, we used to play tackle football when we were kids with everybody. I would grow up on a street of all boys, and it was like, the same thing. We tried to kill each other. So, the pit was really no more different than, again, a tackle football game with all your bros on your street. So, that sort of thing. So, but,
and you played at Cuckoo's Nest a lot and Safari Sam's, right?
We didn't play Safari Sam's in the crowd. It started to happen when we were taking a bit of our hiatus. Played the Nest a ton, for sure.
Okay.
Nest, Starwood, the Whiskey, those were really, in the early days, the most prominent places. There was a lot of, again, Club 88 was really happening. There's a lot of other places, too, but those were definitely the bigger places, for sure.
Fender's Ballroom?
Yeah, we played there a few times. Same thing, not as much. The mid-'80s seemed like Fender's for this peak.
Yeah, okay. And what's next for the crowd? What are you guys doing now?
Well, we have one show coming up here in a couple of weeks with the Adolescents and the Zeros at the Garden Grove Amphitheater. And we're trying to figure out, Peter, we're going to try to make a record. We're going to try to go to Europe. Because we've actually, the weird thing is, we've always been really, Potsdam did a good job of getting our records out. Beach Boulevard, World Apart, etc. when the crowd was first playing. And we've always had good distro over there. And our other records have done well there as well. And actually, Letterbomb is being released on vinyl for the first time on Gummo Punk Records about a month in Europe. So that's the next kind of thing that's happening. Rick Costa's been trying to get us to do a full length. So I'm hoping that next year we're going to start working on a full length. And we try to go to Europe. Those would be the two things that, again, we've had offers to go to Europe for about 10 years in a row. And we've never gone. And, I mean, Mike McGran from Channel 3, was like, dude, you got to go. Your brand's strong over there. You guys will do great. I'm like, I know we will. And we've been on the Local Plus magazine. We've been on Third Generation Nation. We've always done well. It's actually, we do better in Germany, like selling records, than we do on the East Coast. And so, that's what we'd like to do. What'll happen is hard to say. I'm sort of I'm sort of band instigator, I guess. I'm definitely not the boss, but I sort of, I make decisions which usually force everyone to either agree and go with it or say, F you, no, I don't want to do that. So that's why that's sort of how the crowd works. I decide things, and either we do them or they push back or we modify them. So I think we'll probably continue in our slow, maybe we haven't played punk rock bowling the last couple of years, so I'm hoping we might get an offer of punk rock bowling. But yeah, I think for me, I've seen so many people, our friends make records, and I have a ton of songs. So I really want to make a record really bad. So that's really the next, I mean, if we don't, I don't know where, I mean, not like we're going to quit or anything, but, I just don't think there's nothing, we're not going to go on any giant U.S. tours. Everyone's still got jobs and kids and shit. So, but if we don't, maybe we'll start doing some just internet releases or singles or something, because I have just said this. I just have songs I want to get out. So that's really what it's about. I mean, we're still not going to play live. Last few years we've been been north a couple times. We've done punk rock bowling. We've done shows in Vegas and San Diego. We just did San Diego about a month ago or so. So we're still playing, just not a ton. And I like to play locally. Playing a bunch locally doesn't do us any good. So we usually like to try to do shows that are more like like an event, like we'll have cool bands open with us, or bands we really want or have played a lot lately, or try to do, something new and different a little bit every time. And, that we've been playing songs, we've been playing Desmond and Kathy and Can't Talk off a World Apart in our set recently, which we hadn't played either. We hadn't played Can't Talk in our set probably, I'm not exaggerating, 20 years. Wow. We hadn't played Desmond and Kathy in about 10 years. So, I mean, that's always a challenge when some nights you're doing a half hour. On a bigger show, you might only get, or a festival, you only get a half-hour slot or even a 45-minute slot, and you probably have a catalog of, 100 songs, of which you probably know maybe 60 of them, and you're only going to play 15 of them, again, and then we have to play, not have to, but if we don't play Right Time or Modern Machine or, there's certain songs I know, like the Stones have to play Jumpin' Jack Flash, we got to play Modern Machine and Right Time. And it's just, because I mean, I don't say that in a negative way, but, again, we're in the crowd and people want to hear those songs and we're going to play them, But on the flip side, if I never played Modern Machine again, I'd be good with it. But no, the funny thing was at the bottom of the hill show with Stitches, when Pete's bass amp broke and we were stuck on stage for a minute, and we're standing up there, and I hear out of the crowd, I hear Modern Machine, and I told my wife that was a nice little crowd love part that I got while I was on the tour. So that was really good. So I'm very hopeful we'll make a record soon.
You can't escape that one.
Oh no, and honestly, it's not that I hate it. It's like this big drudgery, but it doesn't give me the positive buzz that it maybe once did. Sometimes I'll play one note for the solo, the entire solo. I'll play one single note. Sometimes I play the solo behind my head. So I do different things to entertain myself sometimes. And not that I'm trying to make it better. Honestly, I'm just probably breaking it up for my own entertainment, just to do it differently. That's kind of one fun thing about the crowd, that we played a long time. And even the house, will start a song, completely screw it up, stop after 6 seconds, and Jim will laugh. We've only been playing this 40 years, and we start again. And, and honestly, the audience laughs, and you go right to the next song, and it's not, you can either take it as, oh my God, how could they do that? Or just, we do whatever, man. It's a punk rock band. I got over it. We just go right to the next song and power on and sort of laugh it off, if you will. And that, when I said earlier about the whole tongue-in-cheek, I always tell people I take playing music seriously, and I always want to play good, be the best we could be. And, when we play in front of people, I want to entertain the people and make a show, but we don't take ourselves seriously, like, oh, we are this or we are that. Again, we've got to play so long, get to play a lot of cool places with cool people. Shit, it's been great, Do you want more? Of course. But, how can I be bummed not getting to do all the things we've got to do? We've got to do just tons of cool shit and play with cool bands, and so there's no way you could ever, in my mind, be bummed about it. It's just, and then we still get to do it. And so many people get caught up in old flyers and old records, and I like the past, and the memories are great. And again, there's cool people I've known for so long, but I want to make a better record next time, and I want to play shows in the future that you make my hair stand up, and I want to go see bands to give me goosebumps. And I don't, it's not like we should. It was so great then, and now it's over. It's like, no, it's still great today, and I want it to be great in the future. And we still have. You're gonna have anybody who plays as long as we have. You've had some shitty shows where every guy I know or gal I know who plays, you drive home at night from a show thinking, I'm over it, man. I'm done. Fuck, I'm quit. I'm never doing that. Fuck it again. I'm so over it. And then 2 months later, you're playing a show, and when you have that great show, you come home thinking, oh, man, this is why I do it. I love it so much. And then you wake up at 6 a.m. for work, and the rock star wears off quick, and you're like, but that's really, my choice could be I could quit playing and never have to worry about being tired because after I played, or I can, be a little bit tired and take a nap occasionally and get to play some bitchin' ass shows with some really cool bands. So I'm going to keep, as long as I can do it, I'm going to keep doing it.